and welcome back to KnightHunter Books. We've had a little bit of a break, as you may tell by the title of this video being the April and May wrap-up.
It didn't feel like a break, if I'm honest.
No, Wedmin, or wedding admin, seems to have swallowed up our lives.
My first book is Amberlough by Lara Elena Donnelly, which I really liked the idea of. And
that's not a good start.
No, I saw it pitched somewhere as deco punk, boring sort of 20s through 30s, but with some genre elements. It's a secondary world with the creeping rise of fascism seen from within the cabaret scene. So there's rampant debauchery, drugs, and it took me forever to finish, if I'm completely honest. It wasn't sufficiently gripping, I don't think. It doesn't help that one of the main viewpoint characters is not somebody I've wanted to spend an awful lot of time in the head of.
My first is the 3 books in the Hogwarts Library series, which is firstly in a really beautiful edition that I just had to buy because I've never actually read them before. But it's Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, Quidditch Through the Ages and The Beadle and the Bard by J.K. Rowling. And the books themselves, lovely artefacts just to have. I can't say I was completely blown away by the story. I'd recommend them for people who really love Harry Potter. Fantastic Beasts was a bit too listy for my taste. They're not really much of a narrative, made me chuckle a few times, very quick to read, so I'm glad I've read it. Quidditch Through the Ages had a bit more of an interesting history going through it. Beadle and the Bard is actually a collection of short stories or children's tales written in the world, so that was my favourite. One thing I did like about these was either Harry's annotations or Dumbledore's comments, and that was what really brought me into the story.
My next one is The Fictional Man by Ewing. I think this was unfortunate coming so soon after Amberlough, because this really is a story about the main character who's really deeply unlikable, realising that actually he needs to make some changes and he's not a very nice person. And don't get me wrong, I'm all for people who are horrible realising that they're horrible and, you know, coming to terms with that. I'm just not sure I want to read about it. It becomes possible to translate people from fiction, from text, into sort of these created entities. So you get grown in a tube and you come out of the tube at the right age for your character, knowing all of the background stuff, and you're used to, you know, film things. So there's about 17 Sherlock Holmeses, because he's out of copyright. They're known as fictionals, and there's lots about him coming to terms with, you know, the fictionals in his life and what it means to be real, and I'm sure there's lots of really clever allegory there, but
My next, I wanted something reasonably quick, and I'd been hearing a lot about this for a while. This is The Girl on the Train by Paula Hawkins, which is a kind of thriller, crime, made into a film this year book, and it was good. Gets a lot of comparisons to Gone Girl and Before I Fall Asleep and those kinds of ones, and I have to say this is probably my least favourite out of those, but it's still a solid kind of 3.5 stars. Follows a girl who catches the same train every day and kind of notices things on her commute. So notices the goings on in the houses that she passes by. And there was some element of mystery, but I don't think the mystery was big enough for me. There wasn't really enough of a twist. There was less that was unexpected that I like from this kind of genre.
My next one is Descender Volume 2 by Jeff Lemire and Dustin Nguyen. Descender is the continuing adventures of a small companion bot who was created to be the perfect companion to small children, and he's woken up 20 years after most robots were destroyed, after people decided that they were a threat. To be fair, very good reasons. And this continues to be a really good fun series. and we'll continue to follow it for the time being.
My next one is another second volume in a graphic novel series, the Amulet series by Kazo Kabushi. This follows a couple of kids as they've gone to explore a kind of dark magical fantasy realm which they found in their basement, and all the kind of adventures that they get up to there, although things do keep going wrong, which is what pushes them into the plot. I really enjoyed this again, so I will be picking up the following volumes. It is very quick to read, it's very image focused, but it's cute and I like the characters and I love the artwork.
My next one is Sabriel by Garth Nix, and this is one that you might have recommended once or twice. This follows a young girl who has who has been training as a magician and a necromancer. In a semi-mundane world, there is a wall nearby which divides this mundane realm from a magical one, where things are going very, very badly wrong. And she has to set off through this realm that she's not really prepared for, and confront all sorts of magical beasties and threats, and take on really the mantle of adulthood. Should be interesting to see the rest of that series.
She must be a Disney princess as well, because she has a talking animal sidekick.
Yes, true. A Disney version of this would be quite funny.
And then my final one is one which you have been recommending me to read for ages, which is The Girl Who Circumnavigated Fairyland in a Ship of Her Own Making by Catheryn M Valente, which is a very cute lyrical story about a little girl who's whisked away from her home in America during the time of World War II to Fairyland, a magical land which pulls on lots of kind of tropes, twists them all in its own way.
And it's quite knowing about doing so.
Yeah.
There's an omniscient narrator
who is very funny. So it's the first in a series. I did really enjoy it. It took me a really long time to read. I think in part because I felt like I wasn't doing it justice unless I was reading it out loud. So I read this mostly out loud to myself. And that's what I mean by lyrical. Like, the language is beautiful. It is a middle grade book, but the language is like complicated as well, or it uses lots of words that I didn't even know. So I might read more, but probably not in a hurry.
My last one is Updraft by Fran Wilde. I'd say it's more YA than adult. It's kind of a teen coming of age story on a very strange world where there is the city. There is nothing beyond the city. The city exists as a series of bone spires growing out of a cloud, and they have to continuously keep growing. The only way to move between these spires is to fly. Flying is dangerous because invisible beasties can come out of the clouds and attempt to eat you. The protagonist's journey into this life is thwarted for various reasons, and she gets thrown into an entirely different part of society.
Remembering back, you found it a huge breath of fresh air after the other books you read this book.
And the protagonist is actually likeable and vaguely interesting, and you know, it doesn't feel like wading through sin and treacle to read. So yeah, I got through 2/3 of this in one evening, I think.
I'd say that's a good amount to have read in a month, but as it was over 2 months, then I think that was a little short on our part. If you have any thoughts on any of these books, then please let us know in the comments, or let us know what you've been reading. Thank you for watching, we'll see you again soon.